2 seasons in a row, the 3 teams that have been promoted have all been relegated. 2 seasons ago, we saw Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United get relegated. And last season, we saw Leicester, Ipswich, and also Southampton get relegated. And now this is being called the Premier League relegation curse, where the 3 teams that get promoted to the Premier League are automatically going to get relegated because of the difference in the money and the transfers from the EFL Championship to the Premier League. But this season, the 3 newly promoted teams in Leeds United, Sunderland, and Burnley have been making some very good signings and may really have a chance to break this Premier League curse and may have a chance to survive the Premier League season. It will be tough, as within the last decade, only 10 newly promoted teams have survived their first season in the Premier League out of 30, which isn't a good ratio. But this season, I think more than one of these teams could definitely survive and break that relegation curse. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. I'm going to start off with Leeds United, because if you look at Leeds within the last 15 years, for majority of this time, they have been in the Championship. They spent 2 seasons in the Premier League. One season they did finish in 9th place, which was very good. And the other season they just survived relegation, finishing in 17th place. But other than these 2 seasons, they have been, for majority of the last 15 years, been a mid-table Championship team. But in recent years, they have really changed. Obviously, in the first season back to the Championship, they finished in 3rd place, very close to being promoted to the Premier League. And last season in the Championship, they were very good, finishing in 1st place with 100 points to make it back into the Premier League. Now, sadly for them, their star player Junior Firpo has left Leeds United to join Real Betis, so that will be a big miss for them. But other than that, they still have majority of their squad from last season, but they have also made some other very good signings to further improve their squad. If you look at some of Leeds' recent transfers, I think that they have signed some very important players for the team. I'm going to start off with Lucas Nemecha, who they signed from Wolfsburg, who obviously has Premier League experience. He grew up in the Manchester City Academy, and I would say that he never really lived up to the hype and to the expectation. But with this Leeds side that will be fighting relegation, I do think Nemecha will definitely help them next season. A very common trend that I'm noticing with a lot of Leeds' new signings is that they're signing some very tall players. If we look at their most recent signing in Anton Stach from Hoffenheim, he's about 6'5" midfielder. If we look at Sean Longstaff from Newcastle, who is another very good midfielder, he is also about 6'1". If you look at their center back that they signed from Udinese in Biol, he's about 6'3". So a lot of the players that they're signing are very tall players, very physical players, and it seems like that will work well next season in the Premier League, because their midfield and their defense will be very tall, very intimidating, and that is exactly what you want coming up from the Championship. Another good thing with Leeds is that since they were relegated from the Premier League a few seasons ago, they have kept a lot of their Premier League proven players in their squad. If you look at Brandon Aronson, he is a very good player and can definitely help them next season. Their attackers in Dan James and Wilfred Gnonto are again very good players, very fast players, and I think will definitely help Leeds next season. And even their goalkeeper in Ilan Meslier was absolutely incredible last season in the Championship, as he kept 21 clean sheets and he only conceded 27 goals. He was phenomenal for them last season, and I do think he will be very good for them again next season in the Premier League. With that being said, in my opinion, I think that Leeds are definitely the favorite out of these 3 newly promoted teams to stay up in the Premier League. I think they definitely have the best squad out of these 3 teams, and I do think they will definitely survive next season. Moving on to Sunderland, who I'm a big fan of, and I do think that they have made a lot of great signings this summer. Out of the 3 newly promoted teams with Burnley and Leeds, Sunderland have definitely been the most active on the transfer market, and they've spent over 100 million euros for some of their signings. But in my opinion, they are signings that can definitely help them stay up this season. Now, Sunderland were the team that did get promoted through the playoffs last season, as both Burnley and Leeds finished in 1st and 2nd. And I thought they did have a few very good players in their squad. If you look at their right back in Hume, he was very good last season. In the midfield with Joe Bellingham and Daniel Neal, they were a very good partnership. And even Mayenda in the striker position, young Spanish talent, very good, very quick. He got 13 goal contributions in the Championship last season. So I do think with these players coming into this season, they do have a decent spine. But obviously that loss of Joe Bellingham will definitely hurt them because he was very, very important to their success last season. And now with him moving to Borussia Dortmund, it will definitely hurt Sunderland, but at least with the money that they got for him, they are putting that to a bunch of new players, which I am going to talk about. Starting off with Enzo Lefebvre, who did go to Sunderland on loan last season. He played 18 matches with them, and in my opinion, I think he is a very, very good player because he has that ability to play very defensively in the midfield, but also to push up and attack, and that's how we did see him get a few goals and assists last season. But I think that some of their new signings is what is really going to help Sunderland in this Premier League season. I think that Chemsden Talbi and Simon Adingra are going to be very, very important players for Sunderland this season because having Adingra on the left, Talbi on the right, I think these players are very, very good. Now, obviously, they are very young players, with Talbi being only 20 years old and Adingra being 23. But they're very pacey players. They're very creative players. We saw Talbi with Club Brugge, how incredible he was last season. I remember watching him against Atalanta in the Champions League. He was phenomenal, scored 2 incredible goals. And similarly, Simon Adingra was very, very good last season with Brighton Hove Albion. Obviously, he did come there from Union Saint-Gilloise, and I think both Adingra and Talbi will definitely help Sunderland next season. If we look at Sunderland's midfield, they obviously have gotten replacements to try and replace Joe Bellingham, as they did sign Sadiki from Union Saint-Gilloise, and they also signed Habib Diarra from Strasbourg, who in my opinion is definitely the more impressive of the two signings. I think Diarra is very, very good, very, very underrated, and for the last few seasons with Strasbourg, he has been so good, and last season was definitely his best season, getting 4 goals and 5 assists. He is very, very good at helping out with the attack. Now, I will say his dribbling isn't the best, and he does get dispossessed fairly often, as we saw last season, but his passing, his shooting, and even his help on the defensive end is very, very good. And obviously, we can't forget about them signing the center back Reynaldo, who was very, very good for Atletico Madrid for multiple years, and I definitely think he will help Sunderland's back line. But that is the one thing, in my opinion, that may hinder Sunderland last season. Obviously, in the Championship, they did get the most goals scored against them out of the other top 4 teams. And this season in the Premier League, especially compared to the other newly promoted teams, I definitely think that Sunderland has the worst defensive lineup. I think that if they want to ensure that they survive relegation this season, they definitely need to sign maybe another fullback and maybe another center back as well, because I think that their defensive line really needs some work, especially if you look at the likes of Leeds and Burnley, who have made a lot of new signings and have already very good defensive lines. I think Sunderland are definitely lacking in that area. So even though they have a very, very good attack, they made some great signings. Their wingers look incredible. Their attacking midfielder, like I already said, looks incredible. I definitely think they need to sign at least another center back and maybe another fullback as well. And finally, moving on to Burnley, who did get relegated 2 seasons ago with Vincent Kompany, but now they are back in the Premier League after getting 100 points in the Championship last season, finishing in 2nd place. This may be unexpected, but in my opinion, I actually think that Burnley have the least chance of survival next season in the Premier League. Now, yes, I do think they have a good squad, but if you look at their recent signings, they have not been as active as Leeds or Sunderland, and they haven't really been improving their squad that much. They've been opting out for a lot of cheaper players, a lot of free transfers, and yes, they have gotten a few good players, but nowhere near the likes of Sunderland and Leeds. And for that reason, I think Burnley might struggle a little bit this season. Burnley were absolutely incredible defensively last season in the Championship, where they only conceded 16 goals, and James Trafford was arguably the best keeper in that league. He got 29 clean sheets, which is absolutely incredible. And that is Burnley's main strength, is their defense. And they've also made new signings this summer, including obviously Kyle Walker, who will make their defense even stronger than it was before. And out of these relegation teams, they definitely have the strongest defense. But it's Burnley's attack that really worries me, because you're not going to survive the Premier League just by defending, just by trying to get a draw. That's never going to work. You need to sign more attackers if you want a chance to survive. Like I already said, getting Kyle Walker as a free agent is great business, and also getting Tuanzebe as a free agent and Hartman from Feyenoord for only 12 million euros is very, very good business, because all three of these players I think will definitely help Burnley's back line, which was already good to begin with. And also Hartman, who I think is a very, very underrated player, will be very good in that left back position, and he can definitely push up and help them getting goals, getting assists. But they still need to sign more attackers. Now, they did sign Jacob Larsson from Stuttgart, who is a striker, but last season and even for the last few seasons in the Bundesliga, he hasn't really been doing that great, and that's why they got him for a cheap price of only a little over 4 million. Now, in my opinion, I think the better attacker that they have signed is Lom Chauna from Lazio. They got him for about 15 million, and he is a 21-year-old French attacker. I've watched him play a lot because obviously I do watch the Serie A, and I can tell you that he definitely has a very bright future ahead of him. I think if he gets the right coaching and he gets treated correctly, he can definitely help Burnley next season. And he has the ability to play in the winger position, usually on the right side, but he can also play as a striker. We saw him many times as a striker last season with Lazio, but I don't think that him and Larsson will be enough for Burnley to survive in the Premier League. Like I said, defensively, they are solid, very, very good. They could have arguably a top 10 defensive line in the Premier League, but their midfield and especially their attack needs a lot more work, and I don't think that these two players are going to be enough to score them goals to stay in the Premier League. But if Burnley go out and sign another attacker, maybe a left winger, they maybe sign one or two more midfielders, I think they definitely have a good chance. And that is the end of this video. With that being said, I think that this season, the three newly promoted teams will finally break that relegation curse, and I don't think all three of them will go down. At the moment, I think Leeds will definitely stay up, Sunderland definitely have a good chance, and Burnley I think have the least chance out of the three, but with a couple new signings, they could definitely stay up as well. If you guys agree with my statements, remember to leave a comment down below. But if you disagree with me and you think that all three relegation teams are just gonna go straight back down again, remember to leave your comments down below and I'll be sure to reply to every single comment. And if you guys did enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.